On the Fringe with Dan Radio Style. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. This Matt Gaetz thing is huge news and weird implications, right? Like, the dude dropped out of Congress for this, and now he's not going to do this. So what's going on? Is there a larger thing at work? Of course, probably. Is it maybe Matt Gaetz making moves before he should have? I don't know. Again, he made this declaration before Trump was even involved in it. We'll talk about it, of course. A lot going on news-wise, and the world seems to be teetering towards escalation in the wars. I, again, don't believe that we will go to nuclear war. I think this might very well be that Cuban Missile Crisis moment that we had talked about 4 years ago, 2 years ago, over and over and over for a while now. So we'll see how things continue to play out, but I think we are in some changing times, to say the least. Just some fun stuff with Musk, just to start off. Normally I would put this towards the end, but it was just kind of cool. So Starship compared to Space Shuttle, Crew Dragon, Cybertruck, and a human. So, again, significantly bigger than the Space Shuttle. Certainly bigger than the Crew Dragon by far. Way giant compared to a human, and obviously the Cybertruck's this teeny little thing over here, which is kind of cool. Doesn't really get any bigger. And those are, I think, just computer mock-ups or made by Grok. Elon Musk posted this, which is also kind of fun stuff. It had a successful launch recently, so this just came out. It's been fun to talk about. Starship is by far the most powerful flying object ever created. Now, each Raptor rocket engine, it produces twice as much thrust as all four engines on a 747. So each Raptor engine, of which there are 33, each one of those is the equivalent of 2 times all four engines on a 747 full thrust at one time. Pretty impressive. I think they give us one more slide here. Oh, no, there's something totally different. Well, similar. Talking about the lies that we've been told. Oh, we're in the next number of years, 2, 1, 5, I don't friggin' know, are not going to be easy. You thought it was tough leading up to this. It's still not over. We've still got more to trudge. I'm not trying to be negative, but at the same time, I want an expectation set. Because I think if any of us are just, finally, this is not going to be good. We need to stay engaged. We need to stay involved. Elon Musk posted this picture that Time Magazine is running around with. Kind of don't care, but he responded to it, so I guess it matters a little. But electric vehicles, check. Become richest man, check. Buy Twitter, check. Launch rocket, check. Bring Rocket Man, check. Implant brain chip, check. Get Trump elected, check. Work from Mar-a-Lago, check. There's only 2 more check boxes, $2 trillion, and fly to Mars. So, Time has decided what Elon Musk is here to do. Elon Musk responded and said, to be clear, I have not done any media interviews, and this is not actually my checklist. I am trying to make life multiplanetary to maximize the probable lifespan of consciousness. Some of the items below are needed for that. He's acknowledging, yeah, some of that stuff is important for that. Some of it's just not. So there you go. Elon Musk is blowing up the Q people. Blowing them up right now. Probably in a good way. I'm not trying to say he's in a bad way. As I overmodulate a little bit. Wow, sounded bad. I knew something was wrong. But what he's doing right now is he posted a thing, not sure what Q drops are, but most of that makes sense, or most of what they say makes sense. And then this morning, they fired off with Good Morning Friends, of course, spelled F-R-E-N-S, which is the Pepe the Frog's way. That's a kind of RQ thing on how we say friends, or like the word happening. And I apologize for any extra noises that come in. Hopefully they're not that bad. But like the word happening instead of happening, a B's instead of P's. It's just interesting. So it seems Musk is commenting on this. I had one of my kind of inner circle people, if you will, emailed me something recently, and he's like, do you think that Elon Musk was just Q? No, I don't. If I were to lean towards a specific person, and I would doubt I'd be right, because I think it's actually a group, but if I was to lead to an individual that was involved directly, I would be putting people like Pompeo on that list for sure. Maybe some good guys, but I don't know. I think it started, I don't know. Q's a fun thing. It's especially the way some of the dates are matching up. But again, a lot of these dates have been around for a long time and people have utilized them. So it's not necessarily Q posting or something very specific happening on those dates as much as it is sometimes people communicating on those dates. I think there's some of that where people realize it's a good way to get relevance. I mean, Gateway Pundit was one of them that did one of these posts that I came across. So, again, whether I share it today, I'm not sure. This is kind of interesting. Bill O'Reilly predicts what's going to befall on Comcast, getting rid of MSNBC. This is interesting because MSNBC's Rachel Maddow is the Russian chick and her husband Joe and what's her face Mika, right? Like they're all on MSNBC. MSNBC might be ready to literally be thrown in the garbage, and maybe a Soros will come by them, but he's still got to pay these people salaries. So we'll see how that plays out because they're running out of money too.
Comcast said, you two, we're going to have to try to mend some cliche fences, and you two are going to go in there and you're going to try to tamp it down. Because Comcast knew the next day they were going to announce that MSNBC is vapor. That is a huge meteor story.
Why is it vapor? Just because they're spinning it off and putting them in the... They're spinning off a bunch of brands.
There's no spin-off.
There is. It's a spin-off company.
There's no spin-off. See, you buy the propaganda, Cuomo.
Oh, okay.
See what I mean about
I'm just saying
people?
What's being reported.
All right.
But what do you know?
Yeah, I know, but why would you believe what's being reported? You want the real story? Here it comes.
Please.
So they're uncoupling their word, Comcast, MSNBC from NBC News. That means MSNBC has no resources at all. None. They're not going to be able to pay these people millions of dollars, Rachel Maddow, whatever she's making. NBC News is saying, we don't want you around. Why? Because NBC News' numbers, Lester Holt and the Today Show, are catastrophe because half the country equates NBC News with MSNBC and they won't watch. So NBC is desperately trying to save the mothership of information, and they have to throw MSNBC overboard. They're not putting anything into MSNBC. They want to sell it. So where's Georgie Soros now? Georgie's buying radio stations. You can get MSNBC for nothing. They'll give it to you. They don't want any more of this. Why? Because it's hateful. Not because it's so far left. The whole NBC Comcast hierarchy is far left. But it's hateful. They hate Trump. They hate people who vote for Trump. Everybody knows that. And you know what's next? The View. ABC News is going to have to cut ties with The View. And you saw that today or yesterday when Sonny Hostin had to read a legal statement in the middle of a segment. The lawyers get Whoopi Goldberg's ear and it said, we're bringing a statement in on a teleprompter. She reads it. So it is over for these far left networks. Done, never coming back. Dracula's stake in the heart. Who benefits? News Nation may, but CNN, which is on the ropes too, will probably get some MSNBC viewers.
Wow.
There you go.
What do you think of that?
Well, I'm certainly not going to accuse them of not making sense.
That's this is what's happening. Again, folks, we're living through a drastic transition. A lot of people still, I think in their minds, even in my audience, think in their minds that we're going back to the way things were. I think a lot of us envision what it was like when we were kids. No. We are moving forward to a new place. One that is far more fantastic than even what we had when we were kids. In fact, I think many of us will feel like kids again, especially if there's even a tiny bit of truth to some of this medbed crap that's talked about, which I do believe in, by the way. I do believe the technology exists. I don't know how widespread it is. I also don't know how much it's being incorporated into our current world yet. I've heard a lot of things. I don't know if there's a lot to be said. Again, like it's like I keep hearing people are like, no, they're letting like people that are missing limbs and stuff from the military go. And I'm like, you realize like if let's call him Joe. was missing a leg, and he was showing up to church week after week after week, and then all of a sudden he's gone for a week or two, and then he comes back, and he's got a leg. There's no keeping that secret, right? So there's just this weird thought out there that like, oh no, they're happening. They're just in special places, and it's like I don't know. I don't know yet. I think the technology exists. I don't think it's given to us yet, and I think we're still fighting the deep state in a huge way. So this idea that stuff is moving forward faster than it is, I would caution people on, is all I can say. I think we do have a little ways to go. They are continuing to try to destroy us as much as possible. Slash and burn is what they are currently doing. Bunch of examples. Migrants set out from Mexico hoping to reach pre-Trump U.S. Thousands and thousands of them heading their way. Making the long list, well, long walk, which is weird because Mexico's supposed to be helping us with that. So curious if Trump's making some phone calls already. Some of it just needs to look bad for Trump when he finally gets there and shuts the door. Immediately he's got plans probably for the places that we're going to start shutting down and putting up boxcars and all the different things for the border. The border is going to get sealed. Biden admin quietly loosening immigration policies before Trump takes office, including letting migrants skip ICE check-ins in New York City, an actual port of entry. So that's how they're going to get around a lot of this asylum stuff. Literally have them come through New York. They might even continue to try to fly them in at this time. I know they're supposed to have stopped that, but I doubt it. But they are quietly rushing to implement new policies that will loosen restrictions migrants who entered the U.S. illegally. Now, Trump's obviously going to do something about that. A lot of this is being done to try to somehow make it harder for Trump, but again, this is kind of funny. States have been making all sorts of fights with the federal government, Texas in particular, about trying to put stuff to block their borders, and they were having a hard time with that, weren't they? They got some of the stuff done. Some of it, the federal government's like, no, you have to let them in, and they're like, nah, we're still not going to. And here we are, states doing something similar on the other extreme. We are not done at all with the fight. Not even close. So they're trying to destroy us as much as possible. The Biden administration moves to forgive $4.7 billion of loans to Ukraine. This is the part that Biden was going to be able to forgive. I knew he was going to. I talked about it back when they said this. This was part of the loan plan. And the rest of it can be forgiven at a later date once Trump is in office, and it's not going to be forgiven at all. But this, of course, was by Biden. So another $4.7 billion of our money we know to delinking. President-elect Trump directed congressional Republicans on Wednesday to block a bipartisan bill aimed at shielding journalists from government surveillance. In a post on Truth Social, Trump shared a PBS News segment outlining the bipartisan bill's intent and its current status in Congress. Republicans must kill this bill, Trump wrote. The Protect Reporters from Exploitive State Spying Press Act, which passed the House earlier in 2024 with bipartisan backing, seeks to establish the first federal press shield law in the United States. Democratic Maryland Rep. Jamie Raskin, there it is, and Republican California Rep. Kevin Kiley, who co-sponsored the bill, hailed its passage in January. Trump saying no. And this would give the press free reign. And the press doesn't mean me. It means CNN, ABC, NBC, MSNBC. It means them. So this bill is aimed at protecting their people from being investigated. This can't pass. Again, Johnson was fighting a tough act all the way, and I think he got stuck accepting some stuff, and maybe even was before him. I don't remember exactly when he came in, frankly. I think it's been more than a year, hasn't it? I believe so. Brazil prosecutors formally charged former President Jair Bolsonaro for his alleged involvement in coup attempt and plot to assassinate Lula. We talked just recently about how Lula, supposedly there was an assassination plot. One of the people within his ranks supposedly had plans that in his possession, and now it seems they're tied to Jair Bolsonaro, which you know is asinine and crazy as hell. But again, these are the moves they're making. Trump's about to come into office, they have to make some serious moves. They can't have this guy running around because he's basically like a Milei out there in Argentina, or even some of the other good leaders that are starting to rise to the surface. They can't have this right now. So they need to shut this dude down. Democrats advance 5 more Biden judicial nominees. This is just through the nominee process. This hasn't actually been voted on yet in the Senate. These came out of the, I think that little committee. Yeah, the committee, Judiciary Committee. Senate Judiciary Committee on Thursday. They're going to proceed to the Senate floor in the coming days. I did watch an interesting 7-minute interview of Cruz talking to one of these people, and she just was... I don't know. It's just some of the craziest people. Definitely people that will do whatever the deep state says, and that's basically what she said. But it was just, they're going to try. They're definitely trying to push through all sorts of crazy people right now, and we got to stop it. So like Dan Scavino says in this post, accountability is coming, and that's friggin' for sure, right? Steve Bannon, he's got a recommendation for John Brennan. I haven't actually listened to this yet. It's a minute and a half. I'm figuring it's pretty good. Steve Bannon's pissed. I like that. Check it out.
Welcome. So here's right there, John Brennan. No, we're not going to allow the deep state to determine who's in the Trump administration and who's not. Okay, but either in the White House or one of the departments, cabinets, all of it. You're not running the deal. We're running the deal. And Brennan, you should stop going on. Just a recommendation: stop going on MSNBC and start lawyering up. Because you're on a short list of people that I'm sure are going to be investigated in this vast criminal conspiracy against President Trump and MAGA. So you don't need to worry about our clearances. You don't need to worry about FBI checks. That's not your worry anymore. You should worry because on the afternoon of the 20th of January 2025, we're going to strip you of your security clearance and take your pension away. So I would be talking to your financial advisor. Then you're going to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars and years and years and years trying to defend yourself against deep investigations, just like you did to us. Now, the difference between the good guys in the MAGA movement and around President Trump and you guys, you're like rats leaving the ship. All I see is the Hollywood elite. DeGeneres yesterday going to the Cotswold in England. You guys are fleeing the country. McCabe sitting there whining. Weissman whining. Leaving the country, not standing up and defending your position. You know why? You know what crimes you're guilty of.
Yeah. They're freaking out. They know what's coming, and what's coming is pain. This is Milton Friedman. It's kind of long. I'll play it a little 1.2 speed or whatever. It is powerful because this was, I want to say, probably the 80s, just based off of clothing. 80s, 90s, probably 90s, early 90s maybe, whatever. But this was what Milton Friedman was saying at that time as far as the Department of Government Efficiency, though he wasn't calling it that at the time. But this is pretty interesting. Check this out.
14 is a lot for television, so I want to just go right down the list quickly and have you give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Keep them or abolish them. Department of Agriculture.
Abolish.
Gone.
Oh,
Department of Commerce.
Abolish.
Gone. Department of Defense.
Keep.
Keep it. Department of Education.
Abolish.
Gone. Energy.
Abolish. Except that energy ties in with the military.
Well, then we shove it under defense.
That's
the little
right.
bit that handles the nuclear,
that ought to go under
plutonium
defense.
and so forth goes under defense, but we abolish the rest of it. Health and Human Services.
There is room for some public health activities to prevent contagion. Such a thing as, for example.
So you'd keep the National Institutes of Health, say, and the Center for Disease Control.
Not the National Institute. No, those are mostly research agencies. No. That's a question of whether the government should be involved in financing research.
And the answer is no.
Well, that's a very complicated issue, and it's not an easy answer with respect to that.
We'll eliminate half of the Department of Health and Human Services?
Like
okay, one half. There we go. Housing and Urban Development?
Out.
Oh, didn't even pause over that one. Department of the Interior?
Oh, well, but housing and urban development has done an enormous amount of harm. My God. If you think of the way in which they've destroyed parts of cities under the rubric of eliminating slums.
Jack Kemp.
You remember, Martin Anderson wrote a book on the federal bulldozer, describing the effect of the urban development. There have been many more dwelling units torn down in the name of public housing than have been built.
Jack Kemp has proposed selling to the current inhabitants of public housing their unit, their townhouse, their apartment for $1 a piece, and just shifting the ownership to the people who live in it.
If you got rid of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, it would be worth doing that.
All right, done. That's gone. Department of the Interior, your beloved National Park Service.
Well, given the problem there is, you first have to sell off all the land that the government owns. But that's what you should do.
But it could be done pretty quickly.
It could be done. You should do that. There's no reason for the government to own. The government now owns something like 1/3 of all the land in the country.
And that's too much. Should go down to zero.
Should go down to, well, not entirely zero. They ought to own the land on which government buildings are.
Okay, terrific. Department of Justice.
Oh, yes.
Keep that one.
Keep that one.
Labor.
No.
Gone. State.
Keep.
Keep it. Transportation.
Gone.
Gone. The Treasury.
You have to keep it to collect taxes.
All right, collect taxes through the Treasury. Veterans Affairs.
You can regard the Veteran Affairs as a way of paying essentially salaries for services of those who have been in the armed force. But you ought to be able to get rid of it.
You should be able to
pay it off.
Pay it off. Pay off lump sums, perhaps.
That's right.
And just get rid of it. Okay, Milton Friedman, if you are made dictator for one day, the next day the American government...
No, I don't want to be made dictator.
You wouldn't?
I don't believe in dictators.
Okay.
I believe we want to bring about change by the agreement of the citizens. I don't believe in arbitrary rule.
Let me put it this way then.
If we can't persuade the public that it's desirable to do these things, we have no right to impose them, even if we had the power to do it.
All right. From 14 departments down to four and a half.
Fundamental functions. What are its fundamental functions? Preserve the peace, defend the country.
All right.
Provide a mechanism whereby individuals can adjudicate their disputes. That's the Justice Department. Protect individuals from being coerced by other individuals. The police function.
Right.
And now, this is both the central government and the state and local governments. The police function is primarily local and central.
Right.
And those are the fundamental functions of government, in my opinion.
Milton Friedman, thank you very much.
So dealing with a one-day problem. Hopefully it's not too bad, but we definitely got noises happening in the background, and there's not a whole lot I can do about it. So we will just kind of suffer through it. I edit when I can, but sometimes they get me right in the middle of talking. Yeah, it's like Tourette's. It's awesome. FBI Director, HHS Secretary refusing to testify at hearing on the threats of what's been going on. This is just shocking.
Welcome back. Quick update. The Senate hearings on the threats to the homeland has been postponed indefinitely. Senator Rand Paul says Mayorkas and Ray are refusing to provide public testimony. Going to follow that story.
Yeah, so they're just refusing to do it. Again, at the end of the term, they don't care probably. I think we're coming after them too. They're probably going to have to move out of country. The DOD IG knowingly concealed the extent of the delay in constructing a narrative that is favorable to the Department of Defense and Pentagon leadership, this letter that's been released says. The federal bureaucrats within the Department of Defense delayed the deployment of the National Guard on January 6, 2021, and covered it up, according to a House Republican investigation of government conduct related to the Capitol riot. On Thursday, Rep. Barry Loudermilk, Republican from Georgia, who was leading a review of the work completed by the partisan January 6 probe run by then Rep. Liz Cheney, sent a letter to the Inspector General for the Department of Defense demanding a correction to the agency's report published in November of 2021. This report was the final product of the DoD IG's review into the events of January 6 and reviewed how the DoD responded to requests for support as the events unfolded. Loudermilk, the chairman of the subcommittee of the oversight of the House Administration Committee, wrote, throughout the subcommittee's extensive investigation into the failures of January 6, 2021, we have discovered numerous flaws and inaccuracies in reports that your office has yet to appropriately address. A mess is happening. We have this as well. Elon Musk is posting this or pointing this out on the new channel, Department of Government Efficiency. Pentagon can't fully account for $824 billion, $236 billion in improper payments in federal programs in 2023 alone. $200 billion in pandemic relief went to fraud and abuse, and the U.S. failed to track $1 billion in Ukraine aid. Just throwing money around like it's nothing. Pentagon fails 7th audit in a row, unable to fully account for $842 billion budget. Or $842 billion worth of the budget. Robert F. Kennedy posted this: attention all fast food CEOs. Donald Trump and I are inviting you to the White House on January 23rd, 2025. Bring your best ideas because it's time to clean up the menu. Seed oils and harmful ingredients are on the chopping block. Help us make America healthy again. MAGA plus MAHA equals happiness, equals love. Love potion number 9 is what I believe that is. Reminds me, by the way, music this week. We're doing just 80s rock music. It's going to be an awesome 80s rock music, just rock. Like, those about to rock. That song's not actually on there, but we're totally going to rock you. It's a lot of good times. Good stuff. Great music. Hope you have fun with us. That'll be 3 p.m. Pacific time Friday this week. Doing it live. You can watch it anytime, though. So come watch it afterwards. It's great music. Great fun. A lot of good people hang out. And it's really, there's this weird chat community. I don't fully understand it, but I'm getting it. But there's this they enjoy talking to each other far more than anything I'm doing at all. It's actually pretty funny, really, in the big picture. Like, somehow I brought these people together just because of me and this commonality of that. But then now there's like all about, like, when Dan goes live, we'll talk to each other. So it's like, I don't know. It's awesome. It's fun as hell. All said, you can be part of that on Friday. Yes. Ron Paul posted this. I think it's pretty cool as well. So 1913, that's a year we need to change, that's for sure. But 1913, the year that led to today's economic torture. Both the income tax and the Fed were created that year. The income tax made everyone's earnings the property of the government first. What the government allows people to keep is then relentlessly stolen by the Fed's inflation. And this is exactly how the game is played. They don't want you wealthy. They don't want you okay. Nice. Washington Post was set to lose $77 million before 250,000 subscribers quit because of that Kamala endorsement thing. First off, they're crap Washington, they're MAG anyway. Also, it's Bezos, which I'm still wondering what's going on with him. It sounds like he's maybe getting taken down to a degree. So what they were talking about is they were able to pick up like 200 subscribers every time. Let's see, the top stories. They'd convert about 200 plus subscribers. So that means they put out a really good story that got a lot of hits. They'd get about 200 extra subs from that. They just lost 250,000. If you divide 250,000 by 200, well, you realize you've got, essentially 1,250 stories you got to write to try to ever get back that audience. And whether or not that's even still the case, because now your readership has gone down so much that you might not even hit the highest search results that you could. Yeah, the Martians are trying to invade right now. My house is, for the most part, holding up. We'll see if that continues through this wonderful experience. U.S. charges 5 in a scattered spider hacking scheme. So we charged 5 people. I don't think we've got them in our possession or anything like that. This is Los Angeles, which is doing this, which is weird because there's been a couple things that now have come out of Los Angeles that makes me kind of wonder if this is going to be the new SDNY until they can clean up, right? Like, I think they're starting to put some of the stuff over here in Los Angeles that they don't want to expose because SDNY has just got the person that's going to be coming in that Trump's appointing is definitely going to clean up SDNY and probably release a bunch of stuff. So the deep state, it seems, I'm guessing, is already starting to push stuff over to Los Angeles, their U.S. Attorney's Office. I don't know what our little fancy initials are, but they just call it Los Angeles. So we'll see what's going on. But they've been charged. I don't think anything's going to come necessarily. We'll see. Maybe when Trump gets in office, right, they'll swoop in and get him. A Florida suspect was recently arrested for allegedly planning to bomb the New York Stock Exchange. Again, they're just trying to freak people out, trying to get us pissed at each other. This U.S. District Attorney in the Southern District of Florida announced the arrest on Wednesday. What's funny is this is another one of those cases, I believe, where the FBI was involved, right? Harun Abdul Malik Yaner, 30, of Coral Springs, was arrested today based on criminal complaint charged him with attempt to use an explosive device to damage or destroy a building used in interstate commerce. According to court files obtained by Fox News Digital, suspect Harun Abdul Malik Yaner unknowingly worked with undercover FBI agents. Here's the thing. either the FBI is not actually doing their job, or when they're quote-unquote seeming to do their job, they're arresting people that they've planted. Like they're people they just like rustled up, these idiots, and they're like, hey, here's what this thing you should do, and you should buy this and this, and if you mix it together, and then they're like, ha-ha, we caught you. And he's like, you told me to do all this stuff. And they're like, uh-huh, but you got that Middle Eastern name, so we can totally bust you for it and make it look like we're doing good things. This is so weird that this is how the FBI goes. I mean, the FBI is so not trusted now, and shouldn't be. Shouldn't be. The people they work with to catch undercover, 9 times out of 10, we had a 2-to-3 ratio. 2-to-3 ratio with Gretchen Whitmer. Could be a jackhammer, I guess. 2-to-3 ratio in the Gretchen Whitmer thing, and that's insanity. So you got to wonder what they're doing on all these other things. 2-to-3 ratio. For every one person they caught doing something mischievous, there was 2 FBI agents coaxing him along. And that's somehow okay. This is... you guys. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, assistant, was robbed. Attacked by an illegal immigrant with 5 arrests since 2023. He's a Venezuelan... the Tierra de Agua, or de Agua, what is it? Tierra de Agua, whatever they're called. TDA, gang member. Why am I drawing a blank on that first word? De Agua. De Agua is the hard part to say, I know that much. But said, yeah. Alvin Bragg's assistant. The DA. The guy that's directly responsible for keeping the streets safe. That went after Trump. The Capitol Police officer who fatally shot Ashley Babbitt, our good friend Captain Michael Byrd, well, his background apparently includes all sorts of problems. He had a failed shotgun qualification test, a failed FBI background check for a weapons purchase, a 33-day suspension for a lost weapon, and referral to Maryland state prosecutor for firing his gun at a stolen car fleeing his neighborhood, according to congressional and police documents obtained by Just the News. Byrd's record was uncovered during a larger House Administration Oversight Subcommittee investigation into the Capitol Police disciplinary process and was chronicled in a letter Rep. Barry Loudermilk, the panel chairman, sent Wednesday. This subcommittee is dedicated to ensuring USCP has autonomy from political pressure so it can make operational and personnel decisions. However, based on the information obtained by the subcommittee regarding the USCP's handling of Captain Byrd following January 6, 2021, and his significant disciplinary history, I have concerns about USCP's decisions to promote him to the rank of captain. Uh-oh. They're going after him. It seems Loudermilk is getting even louder. Here is some Matt Gaetz, Senator Hall. Here is Jesse Waters and Josh Hawley talking about the slander campaign. This is something they're doing big time right now. They're coming out, again, this is like a Kavanaugh all over again. And they're doing it hardcore. And they're going to continue to. And this is, again, where the ripples are going to need to continue to be made. And we kind of, almost to a degree, just have to sort of ignore the fact that there's rumors about people at this point. I'm going to trust Trump, and we're just going to push forward. It's kind of like what they do. We're going to be. I'm going a little blind on it. I mean, we're going to look at other stuff when we can, but people that are going way back in their past and bringing up stuff that's, I don't know, probably not happening anymore. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be a very interesting time. This is going to pit brother against brother even further, but hopefully we can weather this storm. This is going to be very interesting to see how we get through these coming months.
What's the word in the Senate about these confirmations?
Well, I think the word ought to be, Jesse, that every single one of these nominees needs to have a confirmation hearing as quickly as possible. My plan is to support all of them, and I would just say to my Senate colleagues, listen, let these guys testify. Give them a shot. I know some of these Senate GOP folks are saying, oh, I've got concerns. That's what a hearing is for. Don't go out and bash these people until you've at least allowed them to make their case. And listen, I mean, I think they've got momentum. I thought the meeting today with Gaetz went great, and it's full steam ahead.
So some of these guys, even not having a hearing, maybe not even met Matt Gaetz, they're just no's?
You know, I've read about my colleagues, some of them here in the Senate, who say we've got deep concerns. Of course, I'm reading all of the slander and garbage in the press about Gaetz and others, and this is really approaching Kavanaugh proportions. They're trying to do to him what they did to Kavanaugh, and the answer to that is let the guy speak. He deserves to be able to address this himself. He deserves to be able to lay out his vision and the president's vision for the DOJ. And I look forward to that. And listen, as I said to President Trump, I'm going to help in whatever way I can to get the president the cabinet that he wants and deserves.
So Holly was trying to support it, and that's pretty cool. We like that, right? But again, this is strange how it's all playing out. So the House Ethics Committee apparently votes to withhold Matt Gaetz's report. I mean, it's just them walking out of a room and ignoring the questions and stuff.
Mr. Chairman, do you guys vote to release this report?
Are you going to report?
He wants to go.
So, yeah, crazy what's going on. They're just not talking about it. Matt Gaetz put this out years. Old allegations of a sexual salacious nature from sources DOJ previously deemed not credible, assembled by people with a political motive. The Steele dossier really was shameful. And here he is today, basically. Federal inquiry traces payments from Gaetz to women, so they're digging up all this FBI stuff. The FBI leaked the documents, by the way, which they shouldn't have done. More slash and burn techniques. So they're releasing the information that they got, the one side of the argument from these ladies. Again, he never got his day in court, and the FBI never prosecuted him on it at all. Yet, here we are now using this to slander this man, even though this never made it to court, never seemed credible enough, but they're going to run with it. Matt Gaetz posted this. I had excellent meetings with senators yesterday. I appreciate their thoughtful feedback and the incredible support of so many. While the momentum was strong, it is clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance transition. There is no time to waste on a needlessly protracted Washington scuffle. Thus, I will be withdrawing my name from consideration to serve as Attorney General. Trump's DOJ must be in place and ready on day one. I remain fully committed to see that Donald J. Trump is the most successful president in history. I will forever be honored that President Trump nominated me to lead the Department of Justice, and I'm certain he will save America. Question is, where does he go? Is he able to go back to the House? I don't think so. Think he officially quit? Can that be undone by Speaker? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. It's interesting kind of how that choice was made. Maybe there's this little hidden wild card. People have hinted that maybe Matt Gaetz might become special counsel in a time of need, and that would be an interesting choice. Somebody that definitely has an axe to grind and will do the right thing for the Constitution and for this country. And all of us would trust him, whatever he comes to, right? Probably, I think anyways. So who knows exactly where this goes. President Trump did respond. He says, I greatly appreciate the recent efforts of Matt Gaetz in seeking approval to be Attorney General. He was doing very well, but at the same time did not want to be a distraction for the administration, for which he has much respect. Matt has a wonderful future, and I look forward to watching all the great things he will do. So now they're doing something similar to Hegseth, Pete Hegseth, right? The Fox guy, right? That everybody calls him. A woman told police she was sexually assaulted by a man she identified as Pete Hegseth. So now we've got this lady from way back when who is claiming that she was drugged and then taken into his hotel room and then raped. But that's not really true, they say, from the evidence that's in there. So there's this 22-page report detailing an incident from 7 years ago where in 2017, when Hegseth, then a Fox News celebrity, attended an event for a Republican women's group as a featured speaker. The way the media have relayed the event so far is that a woman in attendance has accused Hegseth of drugging her at an after-party before raping her in his hotel room. Outside of the alleged victim's admittedly incomplete recollection, none of the testimony or evidence included in the police report supports that claim. In truth, all of it indicates that the accuser lied to her husband, who was in her hotel room, while she gallivanted at night with Hegseth and other attendees before voluntarily joining him in his room to have consensual sex. The report's events took place in early October 2017, and it includes multiple eyewitness testimonies and text messages, evidence of what took place before and after the alleged assault. The alleged victim is identified only as Jane Doe after a night of moderate drinking, during which Doe says she at some point felt she may have been surreptitiously drugged. Doe said she remembered few details, but that she recalled inexplicably finding herself in Heggs' hotel room and that he had apparently ejaculated on her body, and that she thereafter went to her own room to join an unnamed person in bed. A text message she shared with police indicates the person was her husband and that there were other parties in the room, likely children. So she did something, probably on purpose, probably because she was drunk. I mean, and then, you know, this guy's famous, and so she was like hot for him, and maybe he was buzzed too, and maybe, I don't know, I don't know what his deal was or whatever, but yeah, two adults consensuating to sex, whether one of them's cheating on the other is kind of irrelevant. All said, this is what's getting spread. And so they're just spinning the one side of it, not really playing out all the details that should be in there, well, or shouldn't even be mentioned anyway. So lamestream media's next victim. A recent lawsuit alleges Linda McMahon, who President-elect Trump tapped to lead the Department of Education, knowingly enabled the sexual exploitation of children by a World Wrestling Entertainment employee as early as the 1980s, allegations that she has denied. Once again, there are these allegations. If they're true, let's get it to the surface and give everybody a chance to talk about it. But there's allegations from way in the past, things that have already been dealt with, it seems, or never moved forward with because they were just allegations. And sometimes people allege untruths because they want to bust somebody they hate or whatever. It happens all the time. So we don't just believe everybody that says, we're open, want to see. All right, let's hear both sides. Let's get you guys talking about it, or let's get you talking to somebody, and we'll get somebody to talk to the other individual, and we'll compare stories, and we'll figure it out. We're not just going to assume accuser is correct, because we've seen it happen countless times. The Carol, what's-her-face thing with Trump, right? The one that claimed that he raped her. They had to change law so they could even go after her, and it was just her making it up. And again, the courts came back and said it's like Trump didn't rape her, but I don't know, somehow there's he said things that were rude, or I don't know, whatever the case was, they somehow busted him for something stupid. So McMahon's now, she was the former CEO of the WWE, which she co-founded with her husband Vince. As head of the WWE, Linda McMahon oversaw its transformation from a wrestling entertainment company into a publicly traded media empire. She stepped down in 2009 to run for Senate, but she lost in Connecticut in 2010 and 2012. As McMahon with co-chairs Trump's transition team, she vies to be confirmed as Education Secretary. A recent lawsuit raises questions about her care for children's safety. The suit alleges McMahon, her husband, the WWE, and TKO Group Holdings, the league's parent company, knowingly allowed employee Melvin Phillips Jr. to use his position as ringside announcer to sexually exploit children. It is a presumption. And whether she had anything to do with that, legally she might have been tied to it because of who she was, but did she know anything about this? I mean, again, this is what they're doing. Like, if we were allowed to do guilt by association, we'd just show the pictures of all of the people that are currently politicians with Soros or any number of these bad people and be like, all right, well, they're out. There you are. You're obviously friends with this person. See ya. That's it. Done. That's the game we're going to play, which, cool. That'll be fun. Comer's going to create a Doge subcommittee chaired by Marjorie Taylor Greene to work with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. I hope this is okay. I guess it's good that they're doing this, right? But, again, as long as they don't try to feel like they're going to hold back what these guys are doing, because it's not really Congress's thing. If we need to pass some laws to thin down Congress, it'd be nice to have some Congress in there. So, I don't know. Hopefully Marjorie doesn't do anything crazy. Just saying. NRSC Chair Senator Tim Scott announces Blackburn, Budd, Ricketts, and Banks are all going to be co-chairs. This National Republican Senatorial Committee chairman. These titles are stupid. Committee has not had co-chairs in recent election cycles. Chairpersons are these people I listed. Republicans are united around advancing President Donald J. Trump's agenda and defending our U.S. Senate majority. There's too much at stake to do this alone, so I'm thankful to my colleagues for stepping up to serve as vice chairs of the NRSC, National Republican Senatorial Committee Chairman. I think this is probably trying to help unite a lot of the messaging and stuff like that, and having people that you can trust and people that are kind of good at the game helping that might be cool. I'm sure they do some other stuff, but whatever. That's kind of groovy, I think. Oops. A couple appointments, and one, so I made my call out yesterday, and it's really funny. So one gentleman, and it's just awesome. He's like, he points to the Truth post that I was talking about specifically because I couldn't find it. And literally, up to the time of recording, the post for September 19th was not there. So what I know for sure is this stuff got posted into the media before he ever posted it on Truth, because literally I'd seen plenty of stories, and I had looked and I kept scrolling through, and I even scrolled past the 19th, and we were like into the 18th. I'm like, well, it's not here. And it was when I went back after the guy shared the picture with me, I'm like, he says it was in there, and I'm like, wow, I totally missed it. Like, I'm retarded. That's totally cool. Thanks, man. Awesome. And then I dug into it, and I'm like, no, that's like after the most recent story I shared. I'm like, no, that was actually way after. So I'm still wondering, where's this stuff getting posted? It's getting posted somewhere prior to Truth. Truth is kind of lagging on the time of when stuff is posted often. It's supposed to be a confirmation, but it's definitely not the primary place that stuff's being posted. So I'm still curious where the hell this is actually being posted other than Truth. That's first, and it's not a news site. It's got to be some Trump source or something. Whatever. Still digging. I am very pleased to announce that former ambassador and former Congressman Pete Hoekstra has been nominated as my United States ambassador to Canada. All right. I bet that bastard can punch a moose. Yeah. If not, you have no business, buddy. No business. If you can't do a shot of syrup and punch a moose, then you ain't living, man. And I'll tell you what, I don't want someone that's not living in that position. The Trump team plans to resuscitate a dead oil project, the infamous pipeline. Yes, the Keystone XL pipeline. He's going to try to get that ball rolling day one, too. Trump's going to have a busy first day. He will probably have the most busy first day ever. Like, literally, they're going in probably with a stack of EOs and then a whole slew of other stuff that's going to happen. And if we play our cards right, hopefully he's already got people, like, approved. If he can pull that off on the first day, too. Oh, man, that'd be rad. So, again, how this plays out, we'll see, but he's going to try to open that pipeline back up. That's going to be a big deal, 1,200-mile-long pipeline from Canada to Nebraska, and it will help. It'll help us lower our energy costs in a huge way. Hopefully we do it safely and, all that stuff. Gary Gensler is going to step down as the chair of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC. He's going to step down at noon on Inauguration Day, which is the exact moment that Trump becomes president. So he's quitting immediately, which is fantastic. So, this guy sucks. Trump doesn't like him. He's done a piss job. He's also been very anti-crypto, which Trump is very pro. So a lot of people very, very happy about all of that. Judicial Watch files Supreme Court petition on post-election day counting of ballots. This is kind of cool. They filed a petition for a writ of certiorari, I think I'm close to that, certiorari, to the United States Supreme Court, challenging the decision by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit in the case filed on behalf of Congressman Mike Bost and two presidential electors from Illinois to prevent state election officials from extending Election Day for 14 days beyond the date established by federal law. Federal law defines Election Day as the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November of every even number year. The initial complaint states, despite Congress's clear statement regarding a single national election day, Illinois has expanded Election Day by extending by 14 days the date for receipt and counting of votes by mail ballots. The Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit just ruled in another Judicial Watch lawsuit, which was filed on behalf of the Libertarian Party of Mississippi, that counting ballots received after Election Day is unlawful. So hopefully we can get some traction, but you know that. You know it. Why Ukraine is key. This is just some stuff. I was asking this the other day. I feel like it was yesterday or the day before. And my answers come to me sometimes just beautifully. Tori says brought it this time, which again, anyway. Illegal pathogen labs funded by Soros, Dems, DOD, and DARPA, tax money, by the way, with data and help from Fauci's NIAID and NIH. So that's one thing that's up there. So you get your Metabiota up there, Black and Veach, I guess. They've got the CrowdStrike server was taken to Ukraine to hide proof of the DNC HFA crimes. That was pushed up there, so that was out of our reach. America's corrupt political families have been paying themselves with your tax dollars washed through Ukraine since 2008. They also, supposedly, you can order children, fresh children, and different parts of the children. If you want to do different studies on them, you want to get stem cells and stuff like that, they're literally using potentially aborted fetuses, and that's why I think they like pushing for older, why they want to get people that are aborting them literally right up to 9 months, because it's illegal to kill a child when they're alive. But if you abort it, then they've got now a fresh fetus that they can do horrible things with the T cells and everything else. This is what's going on. Ukraine, Putin says Russia fired a medium-range missile at Ukraine, not an ICBM. Now, everybody was claiming it was an ICBM. It was not. It was a medium-range missile. Now, this is kind of an interesting thing that we've come to find. First off, they're saying it fired a hypersonic ballistic missile at Ukraine's city of Dnipro. U.S. officials said it was pre-notified by Moscow about the strike. New missiles appear to be capable of carrying a nuclear warhead. Now, what they know about this is that it was a MIRV, multi-reentry, right? Multi-independent reentry vehicle, I think MIRV stands for. But they're reentry vehicles, which is how the nuclear weapons work, and it's multiple vehicles, multiple nukes, multiple possible problems. Makes it much, much harder to shoot down. Much, much harder. When one missile becomes 7, yeah, it's tricky. One of those is probably going to get through. So what Russia was doing was testing a new missile system, a new missile in general, and giving us a chance. In fact, their lady, their spokesperson, was going to talk about it. They got a question, and immediately got a phone call in the middle of the press briefing. It's kind of funny. Check this out.
Портал News.ru. Да. Алло. Да, у меня брифинг. Да, хорошо, спасибо.
And she just turns the page, starts talking about something else completely. So Russian President Vladimir Putin says Russia has tested a new intermediate range missile. This is meant to basically show the Western world this is what they are doing. We mean business. I think I've got images. Yeah, here we go. Okay, I thought that was it at first. So definitely admitting that, yeah, we tested this new thing. Well, here is some footage of these MIRVs striking their intended targets. Obviously not nuclear, but could have been. So multiple MIRVs. Was that 6 so far? I wasn't counting. Let's try again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 independent, separate things from supposedly one missile. It was meant to send a message, loud and clear, of the capabilities of Russia and their nuclear program. So if this Fabian Hoffman kind of makes the point here, please don't get caught up on the range of the missile system launched, whether it was an ICBM or an IRBM. The range isn't the important factor. The fact that it carried a MIRVed payload is much more significant for signaling purpose and is the reason Russia opted for it. This payload is exclusively associated with nuclear-capable missiles. He wanted us to think that he's possibly launching a nuke. So Russia threatens to attack new U.S. base in Poland with advanced weapons. They have this essentially Aegis system on the ground in Poland, and Russia considers it to be an extraordinarily high-priority target. depending on how this game is played out and what Biden has done, we might very well have to sacrifice this in order to handle the fact that we allowed Ukraine to use weapons they shouldn't have for purposes they shouldn't have. So we're just in a weird place right now, and where we go from here, Lord only knows. I know we're watching a movie, but the movie is going through a reasonably scary part. Russia President Putin says we will warn civilians in Ukraine and citizens of other friendly states to leave potential attack zones in advance. Russia is preparing to launch a major missile attack on Ukraine. He's already told us to get people out of their out of the embassies. Europe, us, everybody. Ukraine's about to get rocked. Rocked. For those about to rock, come on Friday. Top war crimes court issues arrest warrants for Netanyahu, ex-defense minister and Hamas leader. Netanyahu basically says, F you, this is crazy. We've also got Milei saying essentially the same thing. He did a declaración de la República Argentina en defensa de Israel. Yeah, I'm not going to read all this crap in Spanish because what's the point? But Argentina Republic expresses its deep disagreement with the recent decision of the International Criminal Courts to issue arrest warrants for the Prime Minister of Israel. He basically says we stand with Israel. So, yeah, we've got an interesting thing. EU says ICC arrest warrants for Netanyahu and Gallant are binding, they're saying. So, EU is basically saying we will arrest Israeli Prime Minister. This is the separation of NATO. This is the separation of everything that's going to happen. I mean, this is very, very interesting how the deep state is being isolated the way they are in countries and the way this is playing. It's just, again, I don't know. I'm constantly in awe at how this is all playing out. I'm just like, wow, this is so bizarre. Pennsylvania Supreme Court smacks down Philadelphia's gun control plans. Apparently the city was trying to enact its own unique, more strict gun control measures, and the state said, yeah, no, you can't do that, bros. You've got a thing called the Constitution at the state level, so just because you're a city, you actually get less rights, really, than more. So, yeah, take a long walk off a short pier, basically, is kind of what they said. So, gun control, nice, being stopped whenever and however we can. Actor Jussie Smollett, his conviction was overturned by the state Supreme Court. It's just insanity. So they let him go. And again, they didn't issue any sort of anything wrong with the case or anything. They just gave him freedom, is what they did. Jussie Smollett got away with a hate crime, essentially, as far as I'm concerned. Fire going on in New York. I assume this happens all the time, but of course it makes me wonder, is this building going to collapse on itself? I assume this crap happens often in New York. I mean, often enough anyway. I'm sure they got ways to deal with it. But yeah, it's interesting. Massive fire spotted at roof of Soho building in Manhattan. So I don't know where that is exactly. Is that in Long Island? I'm not sure if that's where that is.